Hi there, my name is Mike Stan Sorrells, and I have a special history, Fullerton, a legacy that stretches pretty far back, over 100 years. My grandparents came from Florida to California and settled in the Orange County area. Actually, one of the first places they stayed was in an old gas station located at Euclid and Ornsthorpe, and it's there they rented a little facility there, and they had at the time 3 girls and a little boy. The family got bigger. My grandfather eventually landed a job with the Bass and Cherry Farms up there in the Euclid and Laguna Lake area, and he worked there for a long time on the windmills and the tractors and different things through the 30s and through the 40s. Eventually, he opened his own auto mechanic shop called Bill the Brakeman. He used to like to call himself Bill the Broke Man. My grandfather's name was Bill Sorrells. And they bought a little house in the Sunny Hills area right at the corner of Johnson Place and Stevens. And as a matter of fact, it's still there. And it's there that they raised their entire family. They had a son named William Bill. My grandma's name was Evelyn. Grandfather's name was Dewey Sorrells, and their daughter's name were Peggy, Betty, which is my mom, Lucy, Fran, and Louise. And all of them went to Ford Elementary School and on over, I believe, to Wilshire and Fullerton High School. My grandfather's son, William, joined the Marines, and he fought in World War II. He was on the island of Iwo Jima. He landed, when they landed February 19th, and survived the onslaught of Mount Suribachi, and then died a few days later when they were trying to overtake the airport. Little did he know that my father was also on Iwo Jima as well. United States Marines, and if you're familiar with that battle, it was horrible. So my grandfather's only son died on that island when they were trying to take the airport on March 3rd. He's now buried in Oahu. So that was really tough on my family, and to learn about that in a letter. So my mom married my father Keith in Anaheim in the late 40s. So my father was in World War II. They had four boys, and the third to come along, my brother Roger, John, Kevin, me, my brother Kevin. And my dad took various jobs for a long time, all kinds of different things he took. One, he landed and stayed for a while. He actually moved to Porterville area, and he worked with irrigating all the farms and things like that. Unfortunately, my mom and dad got divorced in 1960, and we were forced to move back to my grandparents' house on Johnson Place. And then my father passed away in 1961. So, and this begins my journey of Fullerton to remembering, because I don't remember things too much before 4 years old. So I started going to kindergarten school at Fern Drive School with Miss Green, who happened to live right around the corner from me. So I used to go visit her quite a bit. And she didn't mind. She was always very, very nice to us. So we stayed at my grandparents' house for a while, my family. And it was difficult because it was a smaller home, but we made it work. And I went all the way through first grade and second grade. In second grade, I moved. My mom purchased a home on 624 West Gage Avenue, down by Woodcrest School. So I moved in with her for a couple years and went to second, third, fourth grade. And it's there in second grade that I met a gentleman by the name of Mark Camp. He befriended me. Mark Camp. And Woodcrest is okay, but it was kind of hard for my mom because she worked at Knott's Berry Farm, and she worked 9 to 5, and she had 4 boys. And my oldest brother, Roger, raised a lot of ruckus. He always had all of his friends over. One of his friends he had over all the time was a guy by the name of Daryl Mansfield, and they raised a lot of Cain because we all played music. My brother played drums, My second oldest brother played guitar, I was learning how to play guitar, and there was always a lot of teenagers at the house. So things were crazy. My mom would come driving up the street, and all the teenagers, and everybody would go, "She's coming!" And they'd leave. But they tore up the house pretty bad, and eventually my little brother and I needed to move back to my grandparents' home. So we stayed there, went back to Fern Drive, and picked up where we left off at Fern Drive. But growing up, it was really something, because when I think about Fullerton and when I was young, I think about the freedom I used to have. I mean, literally, it was like this, and literally like this. We would wake up on a Saturday morning, eat breakfast, and we'd tell my grandparents, "Okay, we're heading out, Fullerton, we'll be back by dinner time." And we'd hop on our bicycles, and like I said, my grandfather owned a brake shop, a very special area on Harbor Boulevard, and there's a little service road right that is still there, and then there's the railroad tracks. And I love trains, so we would go down there. I'd spend hours watching the Santa Fe trains going by, the streamliners. They didn't have locomotives at the time. And I'd sit and watch the train. My brother would be with me, kind of a whole herd of us kids. And then my uncle up Harbor had a restaurant called a Hofbrau. My uncle's name was Del Crandall. He was a baseball player. Played for the Milwaukee Braves and the San Francisco 49ers. He lived up in the northern part of Fullerton on Rosarita Drive, kind of up our Hermosa School. And his kids were very close to my cousins. And then my aunt owned a flower shop. Sometimes we go visit over there. And we just kind of get on our bikes. We go a lot to Fullerton music. You know, I love the guitars. And when the Beatles go over there and look at all the guitars, and you have the big Vox amplifiers, and we look at everything and try things out. And also one of the places we'd land to is a place called the Pawn Shop. And that was right on near the corner of Commonwealth and Harbor. And inside there they had these old Fender guitars. And just walls and walls of, you only think about Fender's Jazz Masters and Jaguars and Stratocasters for $100 a piece. You know, if I had any wherewithal and could see the vision, I would have grabbed them all and I'd be a millionaire now, because they're worth $50,000, $60,000 each. So, you know, we do that on the weekends, and also sometimes during the week after school, we just take off till we had a lot of freedom. And when we got home, we got home. And in those days, if someone got hurt, we took care of them. Sometimes we'd fall on the bicycle, we'd take care of them, make sure they got home. At elementary school, Fern Drive was good. We had some great teachers there. And then eventually went to Wilshire Junior High School, and that was eye-opening. Going from my little elementary school to junior high. And that was pretty rough on me. I wasn't like the best looking kid in the school. I wasn't really athletic. So I was kind of made fun of a lot. Didn't quite fit in. Made the best of it, but could never find my way. And people made sure, some kids could be very mean-spirited and made sure you didn't find their way. And I didn't enjoy the bus rides, but I just made it work. My poor little brother had to tag along when he had to go to school too. Yeah, that wasn't a very good experience, Wilshire. And then from Wilshire, but at Wilshire, I met a friend by the name of Paul Crute. And Paul was the first real musician I found that believed in me. And he lived up on Valencia Mesa. He had a huge family. His family was all Dutch. His dad was a stained glass maker. He made all these beautiful stained glass windows. They were refugees from Holland. And they were in Holland at the time. Hitler had taken over Holland, and they remember everything that went on there, and they tell me stories about that. But they had a huge family. Paul had a twin brother named Peter, and then Mark, who was my grade, who was an excellent athlete, but he wasn't very nice to me, and he let me know it. And then a brother named Philip and Susan, and I was up there quite a bit because Paul and I hit it off playing music together, and we played music all the way. He went on to high school, Sunny Hills. I was a year behind him. I followed him, And we got into choir. He was into track. I got into track and cross country. And I loved high school. High school was a whole different thing at Sunny Hills High School. Really good people, very, very, very open. It was a large Jewish population, and I found them to be really accepting people. And I didn't know a lot about the Jewish religion, but all I knew is they were Jews, and all I knew is they were really nice to me for the most part. And so things started changing at Sunny Hills. I started becoming my own person. I ran track and field. I had a great coach named Coach Barnett. And I ran, learned how to be good at cross country, and I was competitive. And most of the kids that knew awkward Mike and Wilshire had a hard time accepting that I'd become good in something. But I worked. Eventually, my senior year, I got a one-year scholarship to Arizona. And like everybody, had to go away to college. And that was hard. The Fullerton College coach really thought I should stay one more year at Fullerton College and just get a little better, but I didn't. I went to Arizona State, and that was a whole eye-opening experience, and I longed to get back to Fullerton. So I spent 1 year at Arizona State. I came back. Paul and I picked off where we left off, and we started playing quite a bit at the clubs in Fullerton. Eventually I landed at Fullerton First Baptist Church, whereas Fullerton First Baptist Church in the 1980s, I committed myself to Christ. And I was never a person that was on drugs or anything like that, but I just felt it was something I needed to do in my life.
And where was that in Fullerton? Because is that
Fullerton
still
First
around?
Baptist Church is on the corner of Pomona and Wilshire, I believe.
Oh, okay, yeah, so I know where that is.
And then I got involved with that. And I started playing Christian music, and Paul didn't like that too much. He supported me, but it was like, I kind of want to do this over here. So we sort of parted ways. And I was playing at the time with my cousin Jeff, and we were kind of playing cowboy music, and it wasn't very good. And then one Saturday night, we went to see the Lifesavers play at Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa. My brother was playing drums in it. And I went, aha! Now, that's the kind of music I can do. So from there, I started the Altar Boys. We got involved with Evie Fruit Fullerton and Mark Hurd. They were very supportive of us, and started a Bible study there. I got to know the different bands, Undercover, Lifesavers, Lifters, 441.
And you mentioned E.V. Free Fullerton. Did you ever meet Chuck Swindoll? Because he was a pastor there from 71 to 94.
But mostly as Eric Hurd. He was a cool guy. Now, here's how cool Eric Hurd was. And it was fun because they had a, I think it was Wednesday night youth group. And he would give us a room, us meaning like the Undercover band. Undercover, we had our kids that followed us, so we would lead a Bible study the same night he had his youth group. He didn't consider it competitive or anything. They let us use a room, which I thought was pretty cool. We did that for a couple years. Then I got married. My wife went to Sunny Hills. We got married in 1984 and moved to Orange. But I continued with the ministry of the Altar Boys. But just going back overall to Fullerton, my heart has always been there because it was, yeah, as a kid growing up, you have your difficulties, and sometimes you're picked on and you're misunderstood or you're not good at things. But I'll tell you, just having that freedom to explore and that freedom to run around town in Fullerton and experience all these different things was great. So anytime I get a chance to play back Fullerton and be a part of something is very, 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 very special. So that's Fullerton and my life in a nutshell.
Thank you for sharing.
I don't know how good it came out, but...
Oh, it's great. And what year are you of a Cal State Fullerton grad, too? Liberal studies?
I graduated Cal State Fullerton in 1994.
What was the campus like back then?
My experience at Cal State Fullerton was very, very good. I really liked my teachers. So I did liberal arts, and it wasn't the elementary. It was like a design, a certain I don't know what they called it again. But the teachers were great. I learned so much there. I had a history of jazz class, and I had great things I learned about the Greek and the Roman culture, and I had a great teacher that taught physics. It was big, but I got around. What I used to do, I wouldn't park in the parking lot. I wouldn't park in the neighborhood, and I put a bicycle in the back of my truck and pulled out my bicycle and rode into. I found it quicker than going to try to find a parking space.
Yeah, parking's horrible in Fullerton.
So that's what I did. So
Yeah.
I parked in front of my. I just parked about a mile or two away in some random place every time, and I had a truck. Pulled out my bike, rode it in, and then rode it back at night. Simple as that. But it was a great experience. My education at Cal State Fullerton was well balanced and very enjoyable. I enjoyed the staff. My wife was going there at the same time I was going there, so we got to share that. It was great.
And Mike, one of the interesting things about the Fullerton train station that you were mentioning is you're more likely to see Amish people there than almost anywhere else in California. Has that always been true, or is that more recent?
I didn't know that.
Because it's the Southwest Chief goes through there.
Yeah, but see, you gotta realize Amtrak are real trains. The real trains were the Santa Fe's.
Right, that's what I hear.
Super Chiefs.
Yeah.
Those were real passenger trains. Amtrak, you see, we used to ride the Super Chief and the El Capitan and see those Santa Fe's go through there. I mean, it was a thing of beauty. You had to be there.
They have that Fullerton Train Museum. I think that's kind of a throwback to those days, maybe?
Yeah, it was pretty neat. I used to sit for hours and watch the trains. I loved it. Because my grandfather's shop, literally, his shop, you walk across a little service road, and then they had the kind of packing house, and those were the railroad tracks. And I just sit there. Sometimes I was supposed to be helping him, but I would be more like watching the trains, just watching them go by.
And Mike, what is the biggest change you've seen in the city of Fullerton over the decades?
Well, there's more. It's more congested, I think. But I think overall, Fullerton still maintains its charm.
It does.
There's still a charm about it. They got all. I mean, a lot of it. Okay, I got my next door neighbor. She's a runner. She graduated from Hope College, and when I was running cross country, I run all these trails that are kind of sandwiched up in Laguna, where Laguna Lake is. There's these horse trails.
Yeah, those are great. I walked those a couple weeks ago.
Those have not changed.
Yeah.
So I graduated high school 50 years ago. She was running the same trails. She came and asked me, "Did you run those trails?" And I go, "Yeah." I was describing to her where they go, how it worked, where the hills were. It hasn't changed. So it's very unique to have a town like that where certain little things are still the same. How often does that happen?
Yeah, it's unique, definitely. I agree.
Yeah, so a lot hasn't changed. Downtown is still downtown, but as much as some cities change to where you hardly recognize it, Fullerton is still very, very much recognizable. My mom had a home at the top of Fern and Arroyo. We lived there for a long time. My aunts and uncles had homes all over Fullerton. They lived there for a long time. So I have deep roots there in the family. My mom, we sold her house in 2014, and that was hard. And sometimes I drive by it, and it's kind of hard to know that someone else is in there and we're not there, because I had a lot of good memories. And if it made sense, I would have stayed in Fullerton, but it made more sense for my job to live where I live right now in Tustin. It was closer to my work. So, but Fullerton will always be a part of my heart right here, and something special.
Thank you for sharing, Mike.
Thank you, Daniel, for asking me. I hope it's something you can use. Hope it's something you understand how special it is to me, and how unique it is to me, how dear it is to my heart, because there are a lot of great memories. And I'm just so grateful. And I'm a teacher. Well, I just retired, and I'd share with kids how it was when I was growing up, and they just couldn't believe it. You do what? You just leave? You just go outside and play? They just couldn't believe what we would do. And we never really tore things up. You know, we weren't hoodlums. We were always respectful. I mean, we got in a little bit of mischief, but nothing bad. But we were always pretty good and respectful, and just happy-go-lucky kids just riding their bikes around having a good time on a Saturday. It was healthy. It was a healthy time, and I'm just grateful to have grown up in that special time in the 60s and the 70s.
Thank you for sharing. And Fullerton's a great city, in my opinion, too. I've seen it in a different era than you have, but it's a great place.
Yeah, very, very, very special. Very special. Near and dear to my heart. I still call this my home. And I still call Fullerton my home.